welcome back to the channel. Please comment, like, and subscribe. So guys, I got home and I was kind of looking up some stuff, see what was going on while I was at work. I'm like, have I missed anything? Well, apparently I had. So there was this TikTok video that came out. And first of all, I don't know how many of you guys are on TikTok. So I want to play it for you guys. And after it plays, I want to come back and we're going to discuss this, because this is actually a subject I know a lot about. I'll see you on the other side.
Can't pay her rent. It appears now that Gypsy Rose's show has ended and she is no longer getting a check from Lifetime. She's going broke. Now, I have a source who is telling me that Gypsy Rose has not yet paid her rent this month, and the landlord isn't happy. Through this source, close to the landlord, I hear that Gypsy Rose is living in a house right outside of New Orleans. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, $2,500 a month. However, she may need to consider downsizing because this isn't the first time Gypsy has been late on the rent. According to my source close to the landlord of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, the landlord has warned her before about being late on the rent. However, today, the rent is still unpaid and she is not responding to her landlord about paying it. Now, all of this comes as Ken Urker apparently doesn't have a job still. And Gypsy Rose, however, was the primary breadwinner in the family, because even if he did work as a busboy at a restaurant, that would not pay for the $2,500 a month rent for their 3-bedroom home. Is Gypsy Rose close to financial disaster now that she is no longer getting paid by Lifetime and has exhibited her poor money management skills? And do you think her landlord will have enough and evict her for continuously being late on the rent? Let me know.
Yeah, so you know, I'm a property manager, is what I do. So I had to go and look up the laws in Louisiana, because every state has a different law when it comes to rent. Because I'm in Tennessee. So in Tennessee, there is a state mandatory law that, like for an apartment, the due date, it's always due on the 1st. But per Tennessee state law, you have until the 5th to pay the rent. And you cannot charge any late charges until after that 5-day grace period. Now, once that 5-day grace period is over, in order for us to evict someone for non-payment, we have to then give them a 3-day notice to pay or quit. So I thought that was kind of weird, because I guess I'm so used to Tennessee law. So I looked at Louisiana law. So in Louisiana law, Louisiana does not have a state mandate for a grace period for rent. So that means rent is due on the 1st, rent is due on the 1st. Now, that means in Louisiana, since there's not a mandated grace period, that if it's due on the 1st, then on the 2nd, you'll have late charges. The only thing that's different is for non-payment, you would have to serve them with a 5-day pay or quit. Like into this, yeah, and they can do that on the day after they miss the rent payment. So it's a lot different than in Tennessee. So now, it could be that in her lease that the landlord can give a grace period. It all depends on the lease, because you know, everything is, you got to go by the lease. So that's pretty standard. But $2,500 for a 3-bedroom house, that's a pretty good rate here in Nashville, that's a 2-bedroom apartment. And she doesn't want to get an eviction on her record, because if you haven't, she already has a hard time as it is, because a lot of apartments will not rent to you, because I know none that I've ever worked for would rent to you if you have any kind of violent felony. You just won't get an apartment for anything like that. Now, if you have an eviction, you have to at least 5 years after an eviction, and it needs to be paid off. So guys, she needs to be paying that rent. I wonder if she's selling any of those pictures. So I guess now we see why she's selling those 40. Guys, tell me what you think. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you.